We are starting with Raw as Drew McIntyre kicked off yet again with top-tier trolling, complete with an impression of Seth Rollins' laugh that everyone should listen to on repeat. McIntyre insisted that he does not need the Bloodline's help to win matches, but in a nod to The Rock being on TKO's board, said he's a future world champion we can actually invest in. Rollins interrupted to call Drew a liar and said that he can handle him at WrestleMania Sunday, one day after teaming with Cody Rhodes to face The Rock and Roman Reigns. Rollins wrapped up by telling Drew that the Scottish Warrior is the least of his problems, minimizing him and diminishing the significance of this title opportunity. This was some strong work from both men, each looking to get into the other's head, and after weeks of McIntyre succeeding, this round went to Rollins, who attacked Drew's ego. We can't ignore McIntyre taking another swipe at CM Punk, as on Twitter, he told the fans who attempted a "what" chant, "Screw Seth Rollins, screw your chants, and screw CM Punk." McIntyre is delivering the best heel work of his career, but as this week's Raw proved, Rollins is more than capable of playing mind games with his challenger. In the first match of the night, Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan tore the house down in a bout which saw Liv get more frustrated with her inability to score the elusive big victory. Michael Cole noted that this was Liv and Lynch's first match in over 2 years, and Morgan is performing with more confidence than ever before, which isn't going unnoticed. Liv had several opportunities to knock off the man and move closer to a WrestleMania match, even if it wasn't the one she values versus Rhea Ripley, but it was Lynch who got the win. A manhandle slam sealed Liv's fate, and post-match, Rhea Ripley arrived and confronted her challenger, with Mommy talking trash before Lynch said she's unstoppable. All of this was excellent, from the continued evolution of Morgan as both an in-ring worker and character to the latest in the rivalry between Lynch and Ripley. Morgan warning Ripley, "I'm going to take everything you love, everything," on her way out of the arena was the icing on the cake in an exceptional segment on Raw. Lynch was her confident self during this week's Raw, despite having a rather unfortunate incident during a recent tag match at a WWE live event. For the match pitting Lynch and Kevin Owens against Nia Jax and Grayson Waller, Becky was on the receiving end of a StinkFace from Jax and needed immediate assistance. In a hilarious moment, Lynch could be seen asking Owens for some water to wash her face, as the man wanted to move on from Jax's butt being right up in her grill. Since 2018, Becky Lynch has called herself the man and has certainly proved herself to be one of WWE's top superstars and picked up a unique win during the aforementioned live event. The match saw the Irish-born Lynch team with Canada's Kevin Owens to face Australia's Grayson Waller and America's own Nia Jax, who's of Australian and German descent. A match with international appeal, the closing moment saw Lynch hit her Bexploder on Waller to get the pin, in a rare sighting of intergender wrestling in WWE. Becky Lynch joins a rare class of female WWE superstars who have pinned their male counterparts, but now turns her attention to another Australian in WWE, Rhea Ripley. The two will face off for the Women's World title at WrestleMania, and Lynch is ready to prove that nobody, whether it be man or mommy, can stop her on the road to Philadelphia. Since her resignation from WWE, which came after her father's return in January 2023, Stephanie McMahon has kept a low profile, but this week, her name came up again in shocking fashion. According to the latest reports, Stephanie has been named in the lawsuit involving Janelle Grant, which makes reference to corporate officers number 1, 2, and 3. Officer 1 is said to be WWE CEO Nick Khan, while Officer 2 is COO Brad Bloom, with Officer 3 being none other than McMahon herself, according to Front Office Sports. Grant's lawyer told FOS that the names were true, while WWE said via a spokesperson that neither Khan nor Bloom had any talks with McMahon as to whether Grant could be trusted. McMahon's mention in the lawsuit is stated to be ambiguous, but it is said that Stephanie was aware of instances involving Vince McMahon engaging in inappropriate sexual conduct. The suit alleges that McMahon asked Grant to sit next to her in a meeting, and FOS adds that the lawsuit mentions a fourth corporate officer, Brian Nurse, who was WWE's head of legal. Being tied to this lawsuit is not a good sign for anyone involved, especially Stephanie, who as a woman many believe should have been more supportive of Grant amid the alleged abuse. That is, if Stephanie knew of her father's alleged activities in the first place, and will continue to follow this situation as more information is bound to come to light. In a pre-taped announcement, Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis announced that Finn Balor and Damian Priest will put their tag titles on the line at WrestleMania in a 6-team ladder match. Contending teams will have the opportunity to earn a title match beginning this Friday on SmackDown, and backstage, the Judgment Day took exception to the announcement. The champs demanded a one-on-one match with Awesome Truth, who Pierce explained were currently on a media tour, only for Truth to pop up and tell him that he missed the trip. This was, as Truth put it, my bad, and Priest would challenge his old Judgment Day ally, at least in Truth's world, to a match. Back in the ring, Candice LeRae and Indi Hartwell squared off with Ivy Nile and Maxxine Dupri, but this bout was just an excuse to continue LeRae's heel turn. The Poison Pixie criticized Dupri for attempting the backward worm and then said that the women in WWE hate her more than the fans, a nod to the recent live event incident. Lerae also referenced Dupri's brother who had previously passed away, and all of this led to Maxxine walking into a big boot from Hartwell, who got the win for her team. Hartwell did not appear to be sold on Lerae's turn and cutting words towards Dupri, hinting that her longtime partnership with the Poison Pixie may be nearing its end. If nothing else, this is a great way to attempt to build sympathy for Dupri, which may work, but it may not. But Lerae was great here, just unabashedly tearing into the Alpha Academy underdog. Amid all the talk of The Rock, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes sat down with Michael Cole to remind the world what he's fighting for at WrestleMania 40. He dismissed a question about his ability to trust Seth Rollins, the man he feuded with in 2022, as his tag team partner, and said that people change in response. Cody brought up Cole's heel turn over a decade ago, his smashing of the throne in AEW, working with Triple H, and his partnership with former Bloodline enemy Jey Uso as proof of said change. Rhodes teared up as he talked about the fans and his family who he'll be fighting for on April 7th, saying he can't hand a world title to his father Dusty, but he can hand it to his mother Michelle. Speaking about last week's SmackDown segment with the Bloodline, Rhodes said that if Rock is his boss, given the Brahma Bulls TKO status, then it feels great to slap your boss on TV. This was an exceptional promo from Cody, who wears his heart on his sleeve and once again proved why he's been able to captivate audiences around the world. Teal Rhodes, Cody's sister, was clearly moved by the promo, tweeting that she's had the time of her life fighting dragons with Cody and will follow him to the very end. There will be some wanting to see anger, rage, and fury out of Rhodes entering WrestleMania, and there's plenty of time to get to that point, but this was all about showing Rhodes the man. He is real and relatable, and that has endeared him to the people. That was on full display here. In WWE, Rhea Ripley is in an on-screen relationship with Dominik Mysterio, but it's no secret that the Women's World Champion is actually engaged to AEW's Buddy Matthews. Last week, Matthews and Ripley attended the UFC 299 event, and in a surprising move, a photo of the couple was featured on this week's episode of Raw. While it shouldn't be much of a surprise that the UFC event was featured given that WWE and UFC are part of TKO, fans were surprised to see an AEW star's face shown on WWE TV. The moment the picture was shown, the audience reacted loudly with cheers, and we're sure this will leave many speculating on a potential WWE return for the House of Black member. On Raw, Jey Uso wasted no time making his WrestleMania 40 intentions clear. He wants a one-on-one match with Jimmy in the right response to what we've seen in recent weeks. Jimmy has routinely cost Jey high-profile victories, seemingly unwilling to allow Jey any success in WWE without him by his side. The brevity of this promo proved that there is plenty to be accomplished without having to devote double-digit minutes to any given segment, as Jey got his point across in rapid fashion. Now WrestleMania is the stage for a brother versus brother showdown, following on from Bret and Owen Hart's show stealer in 1994 and Matt and Jeff Hardy in Texas in 2009. Which of the two matches this encounter more closely resembles remains to be seen, but it should be one of the more emotionally fueled matches on the card. In the aforementioned match, Damian Priest defeated R-Truth thanks to a well-timed appearance from Finn Balor and JD McDonough to put his rival away with South of Heaven. Mid-match, DIY arrived to support Truth, but all three faces felt the wrath of the Judgment Day to close out the segment. Truth continued to show his commitment to his childhood hero shtick, and the reaction it receives from fans proves how effective John Cena's trademark stuff still is. Dominik Mysterio was nowhere to be seen as he's on his honeymoon with his wife, and the story with Andrade was able to progress without him. This was harmless fun and continued to position DIY as one of the biggest threats to the tag titles and ensured the Truth Judgment Day war isn't over just yet. With a coveted Intercontinental title match up for grabs, Sami Zayn outlasted 5 other competitors to win the much-anticipated Gauntlet match, earning a title shot at Gunther at WrestleMania. Zayn defeated Chad Gable, Ricochet, Shinsuke Nakamura, Big Bronson Reed, and JD McDonough to earn the shot, and scored 3 eliminations in the Gauntlet match. There will be some who argue that this was Gable's match to win, that he should be the guy to dethrone Gunther, and while that argument is valid, Zayn also has an emotional storyline. Zayn has been desperate to prove he can be a champion still, and after a rather underwhelming tag title reign, he has the chance to win his 4th Intercontinental Championship next month. Regardless of whether it was Zayn or Gable, either outcome promised a potential show stealer in Philadelphia, given their abilities and the accomplishments of their ring general. Zayn, as the underdog forced to fight back against the oppressive power, aggression, and fury of Gunther, will provide fans of the City of Brotherly Love an excellent match. One could compare such a showdown in Philly to Rocky vs. Drago from Rocky IV, and if that fight is any indication, Sami could be on course for another huge victory. Now, this year's WWE Hall of Fame class is shaping up to be an incredible group of people, and this week, one of the biggest names in the history of sports was added to its ranks. As first reported by Variety, Muhammad Ali will be posthumously inducted into the Hall of Fame on April 5th and will be inducted by his widow Lonnie. While known for his unparalleled boxing career, Ali did have roles in wrestling, including a match with Gorilla Monsoon and his iconic exhibition match with Japan legend Antonio Inoki. Additionally, Ali served as special guest referee for the main event of WrestleMania 1 in 1985 and was the guest of honor at the controversial Collision in Korea event in North Korea in 1995. An Olympic gold medalist in boxing who's heralded as the greatest of all time, Ali changed the world of sports. And what do you make of his induction into the WWE Hall of Fame? Bull Nakano will be inducted alongside Ali, Paul Heyman, and the US Express this April, and fans won't have to wait long to meet her post-induction. Nakano will be at the StarCast Down Under event from April 11th to the 14th in Ballarat, Victoria, Australia, and we're sure there will be plenty of fans wanting to meet the new Hall of Famer. Back to Raw as Damage Control continued to roll on this road to WrestleMania 40 as Dakota Kai interfered at just the right time to help Asuka and Kairi Sane retain their tag team titles. The Kabuki Warriors retained against Shayna Baszler and Zoey Stark in a match with great chemistry, and Sane and Baszler showcased why they had such a hot feud in NXT. Stark showed out too, further establishing herself as one of the unsung stars of this women's division and someone who will be elevated in the post-WrestleMania season. It made sense for Damage Control to pick up the win given the high-stakes match Io Sky has with Bayley at WrestleMania, which has the capability to be a show stealer next month. With that said, one would be hard-pressed to find anyone who would not want to see these two teams run it back sometime after the Showcase of the Immortals. It was in October of last year that the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile were called up to the main roster, and since then, the faction is impressed with their work in the ring. What fans have seen from the Creeds has been similar to their amazing tag team offense fans saw during their NXT run, but Brutus and Julius recently underwent quite the repackaging. During their appearance on a recent edition of WWE Main Event, the Creeds sported different attire, had new graphics, a new logo, and a new entrance theme. It remains to be seen if this new presentation marks a significant shift for the Creeds, or whether the pair will get back in the tag title picture after impressing on Raw so far. It was back in August last year that the world lost Wyndham Bray Wyatt Rotunda in a huge blow to the wrestling world and, of course, to his family. Rotunda's death at the age of 36 left behind 4 children, 2 of which from his relationship with JoJo Offerman, and the pair had been planning their wedding shortly before his death. On social media this week, JoJo penned an emotional message to her late fiancé on her 30th birthday, saying there was no denying that there was a hole during her celebration. JoJo wishes more than anything that Rotunda could have physically been present for the celebration and concluded that she misses him and will love him forever. WWE has done what it can to support JoJo as proceeds from Bray merch now go to her and the children, and we're continuing to send our very best wishes to them at this difficult time. It was on last week's Dynamite that Kazuchika Okada officially became All Elite, and the Rainmaker also turned heel by attacking Eddie Kingston and aligning with the Young Bucks. Fans were surprised with this creative direction for Okada, but as Fightful Select reports, the call to bring him in as a heel was made well ahead of his signing. Tony Khan had the idea of a heel Okada aligning with the Bucks as far back as the holidays when it was learned that Kenny Omega would be sidelined for a significant amount of time. Knowing that Omega would be out for some time and Okada was likely to come in, it was then that Khan made the decision for a heel turn and for Omega to be fired from the Elite. Khan has had a high opinion of Okada for a long time, as Fightful adds that even before AEW, Khan saw Okada as someone with the capability to be a major heel in American wrestling. Sources in AEW claim that this past week's shows only solidified Khan's opinion, and that the hope is that in AEW he'll do things differently that he never achieved in his New Japan run. Khan and AEW were also confident with the chemistry the Bucks and Okada displayed, and feel like the work on AEW Collision, which saw this new Elite in action, also paid off. Khan wanted Okada to debut quickly after the retirement of Sting, so the company replaced the Icon's spot as a top star. And what do you make to Okada in AEW? Let us know down below. On the March 4th edition of Raw, the commentators almost solely focused on WWE action, but during one part of the show, acknowledged the retirement of AEW's Sting. While AEW wasn't mentioned, it was still quite the surprise for WWE to acknowledge someone working for their main rival, with many believing this was a classy move by WWE. One person who certainly believes that is Jim Ross, who said on his Grilling JR podcast, "It was classy. Any way you look at it, it was classy. I really appreciate the hospitality and professionalism that those guys at WWE showed our event. It meant a lot to me personally, just as an old school guy, because WWE didn't have to do that. I'm very happy that they did. It worked out really well. It felt good, felt right. Sting is so well loved and it was deserved. It needed to be said. Cole and Pat McAfee did a good job of signaling that out." Sting enjoyed a brief on-screen run with WWE that began in 2014, but after getting injured in a match with Seth Rollins the next year, was forced to retire from the ring in 2016. Of course, Sting would go on to wrestle again, but only for AEW. And what did you make of WWE acknowledging his retirement? Share your thoughts in the comments. And we're ending with Roman Reigns, who's dominated as WWE's head of the table, with fans left with no alternative but to acknowledge him and his run. Reigns is undoubtedly one of WWE's biggest stars today, and recently the LA Lakers made sure to take a moment to acknowledge the Tribal Chief. During a break in the recent game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Lakers played Reigns' theme song, and with the Tribal Chief on their side, would pick up the win over their rivals. In February, a statue of the late Kobe Bryant, in which his finger is pointing to the sky, led to fans saying he was acknowledging Reigns, with Paul Heyman himself saying it was a wise choice. Reigns' aura has transcended wrestling, and it's clear that those at the Lakers will be acknowledging the head of the table when he steps into the ring at WrestleMania 40.